Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and welcome in to GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Jack Veltri and Kendall Smith joining you here for our weekly Wednesday show. And we are talking a lot of basketball here today. But before we get into all of that, you will notice Jack is not in his usual spot, his lair, as I like to call it, because the apartment that Jack lives in, it is kind of like a lair a little bit. I won't reveal where Jack lives because that is
Yeah,
safe to say.
kind of.
But Jack and I both know. And so usually you are there in your cave, but you have emerged from the cave and you are in a hotel in Nashville, Tennessee, getting ready for the SEC men's basketball tournament. And my first question to you, Jack, is have you had Hall's Chop House yet? Because we'll talk about the story in just a second. But Jack was whining and dining the last time he was in Nashville. Okay, everybody. Yeah. And I was going to McDonald's, Bojangles when I was going to Nashville with GC. So I just want to know what changed.
So yeah, the context of that was 2 seasons ago now in football, 24. South Carolina went to Vanderbilt. They beat the Commodores, and then afterwards, I messaged you, and I on a whim just asked him like, "Hey, I didn't say this, but like we had been working hard and whatnot. The few of us that were there, and I just basically asked like, can we put dinner on the card?" And I think I did say Halls since it was there, and he was like, "Yeah." So he even was like, "Yeah, go ahead and get a drink if you want." I'm like, "Okay." So yeah, it was fun.
So you did wine and dine.
We did. We
Or you had like an old fashioned or something.
Yeah. Halls does have the bar menu though. So I think that's what most of us ended up ordering anyway. It's the cheaper version. We weren't there getting like big, hand cut steaks or anything. But it was good food at Halls. But no, I have not gotten to Halls this trip. I was actually so believe it or not, I didn't realize this until I got in town. There's an In-N-Out here. And
I knew that actually.
so
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so I was there for lunch earlier today. I went to work out and then went to go, of course, get a little bit of In-N-Out because why not? Because it's really just a West Coast thing, and then I think there's some in Texas, but like besides that, like I did not realize there was one on the East Coast. I'm like, or not East Coast, whatever. It's on the eastern side
of the United States. Yeah.
So point is, went and got it, and and Adam asks the big question: how expensive is Halls? It's expensive.
It's pricey. Yeah.
It's pricey. I've only actually been to Halls really, I think maybe once or twice. Like that one,
like 60 or something. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't think 70.
it's like your average.
For like a 8-ounce fillet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pricey, but it's really good, and obviously it's a staple of Columbia. That's where it started, right? Or Charleston, one of the two.
Oh gosh, I don't know, but
it's in one of the two.
I know it's there in Charleston as well, but. And unfortunately, Adam, I will not be bringing back Halls for everyone. So I wish. So
yeah, In-N-Out being there is really cool. I was talking with somebody about that earlier today, and I did say like I don't know how I feel about In-N-Out expanding too much. I don't know if I want them in North Carolina or South Carolina because I think there's an allure to having them only be out west, kind of like Chick-fil-A here. Like you're not getting Chick-fil-A out in the western side of the United States. I was just in Arizona and Scottsdale and actually had In-N-Out like 4 or 5 days ago. And here's my take. Okay, I did a full review on it. So if you want to check it out, go over to Knights Baseball in their social media accounts. But my take is, and I've had it before, I've had it with the lettuce around the patty. I've had it with the regular burger. It's good, okay? Like the burgers are good. I got the animal fries. Those were cold when I got them. So they tasted fine, but they were just too cold for my liking.
The fries are not.
The shakes are fine. The shakes are like, I got all 3 because they're only like $2.50. So I just wanted to try them all. So I wanted to trial them for the review. It was for the purpose of the content. And I think the best one was the vanilla milkshake. The strawberry one was too runny. But I think In-N-Out overall is good. Like I would totally go back. But let me just tell you, and I will say this like forever and ever, McDonald's superiority over everything. Like, I don't care if people are mad about that. I don't care if people think that that's a hot take. I don't care if people are like, oh, like, you would eat McDonald's. Yes, I would. I would eat McDonald's. And I love
Like,
it. And it's so good. And their fries are amazing.
yes.
McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, everything else. I like Whataburger, but I didn't go there. So, oh, Taco Bell's up there too.
Can't do Whataburger. Cannot do Whataburger.
Why?
Ugh. I had a oh my God, not to throw the show off the rails. Yeah. Speaking of which, I did see, before we get into actual stuff, this is actually a funny coincidence. I have it sitting right here. Adam does say, since I am going to Florida this weekend, I'm going to Gainesville on Friday after I'm done here in Nashville, I have to stop at Buc-ee's. I actually already did stop at Buc-ee's, and I do have my Buc-ee's bag right here. So,
oh my gosh, Ray, do a quick call. Sorry, everybody. We will get into the show. I promise.
But honestly, I'm sure some people prefer this over talking about actual basketball. So Caroline wanted a shot glass.
That is Jack's girlfriend, by the way.
Yes, my girlfriend. And it is a Buc-ee's St. Pat's shot glass. And on the other side, it says, Irish, I were at Buc-ee's. So
Cute.
Yes. So apparently she wants to start a shot glass collection. I don't know. And then as for myself, of course, had to get the Buc-ee's St. Pat's t-shirt. They actually had the Easter one out too, but I was like, you know what? I'm more of a St. Pat's guy. Honestly, maybe I'll wear it to like a game this weekend since it's St. Pat's out there, but I'm pretty annoyed I'm not going to be out at St. Pat's and 5 Points this weekend. So I know. So I'm missing that.
That is so much fun. St. Pat's and 5 Points. And I was just telling someone earlier, like, nobody does St. Pat's the way that Columbia does it. And it is such a blast. I remember in college, like, all day, just like, that was so fun. I think I only was able to go once because I believe my senior year, like, I was working or something. I was always working, but I went my junior year and it was a blast. The only other place that I would rather go maybe is Chicago because they make the entire river green.
Yes.
So awesome. But St. Pat's in Columbia is great. So if you haven't done it, you should totally do it. But Jack, I love the haul. Buc-ee's is so cool. And I need to go to a Buc-ee's soon. Isn't there one in Florence?
Yeah, there's one in Florence. I believe there's actually one coming to another part of South Carolina, kind of out near Hilton Head, I think. So, but yeah, there's a bunch on the way here to Nashville. And of course there's a ton in Florida, but yeah, there's our Buc-ee's haul, our In-N-Out discussion. If you are wondering what I did get for In-N-Out, I did get a double-double, and then I got animal-style fries. I could not make it all the way through the fries. Like you said, they're just – so animal-style fries – let me – actually, I have my iPad pulled up.
Jack can pull up a photo, and I can explain, or he can pull up the exact, saying. So it's French fries. They are kind of like McDonald's French fries, but they give them to you in like a basket. And then they have cheese, the special sauce on there from In-N-Out, and like onions on top. And there they are. Yeah.
Yes. So it's got a lot of different stuff on it. It tastes pretty good. And
when it's cold, it's not as good.
But it's just the problem is the fries are very mediocre. So I would say the burger's typically pretty good. It's not like a huge burger anyway, even for like a double-double. I mean, it's still relatively, like a normal size. I would say Cookout needs to stay and be the superior burger chain in South Carolina. You don't like Cookout?
I don't dislike it, but I think Cookout is extremely overrated. I will say that. And their milkshakes are beyond overrated. I should not have to eat a milkshake with a spoon. No, I should not have to eat a milkshake with a spoon. I can't accept that. I will absolutely not do it. I mean, if it's like my only choice, then fine, I will. But telling you, McDonald's is my number one. Chick-fil-A is my number two. Taco Bell is my number three. I recently had a Super Crunch Wrap, and I forgot how good those are. I haven't had one of those in years, maybe a decade. Fire. Put yourself on the Super Crunch Wrap, everybody. Sorry if everyone likes Cookout, but I just think it's overrated. That's my hot take.
We're starting World War III.
We are locking in right now to the show, which is brought to you by our good friend, Clint Hammond. Jack, we love Clint. We appreciate Clint. And if you are in the market for a house, which you and I both should be soon, Clint, that's your guy.
Yes, you are exactly right, Kendall. Good way to start segueing into what we're going to talk about here today. But first, of course, got to shout out our guy Clint. If you are like Kendall said, you're looking for a home, need help with your mortgage, any of those housing needs that could be quite complicated, especially as like a first-time home buyer. I mean, hopefully here soon we'll find out. But when that time comes, I recommend going through our guy Clint. He's been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now, so he knows exactly what he's doing. The other thing about him, he's a lifelong Gamecock fan, a longtime supporter of Gamecock Central. So you're in the right hands with a guy like Clint automatically right off the rip. So if you're interested, give him a call, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597, or you can go to clinthammond.com for more information.
All right, let's get into the game tonight. South Carolina will play Oklahoma at 9:30 Eastern time. That would be 8:30 Central, which Jack is in the Central time zone right now. So 8:30 from Bridgestone Arena, 9:30 for the rest of us that are watching on Eastern Standard Time. And Jack, I just think let's start off with this, okay? Does South Carolina, and they've played Oklahoma already this year, does South Carolina have a legitimate chance tonight to win? As we see in this question right here.
We do have a few questions about this.
Get your thoughts, your vibe on tonight's game for South Carolina.
I actually do think they have a chance, and I'll explain a little bit of why that is, of course. So, number one, South Carolina beat Oklahoma back in January. Now, that doesn't really hold a ton of weight because go back to last year when South Carolina beat Arkansas during the regular season. It was like during Clemson weekend in baseball, so that would have been in late February, early March. And then they played in the first round of the SEC tournament, and South Carolina lost by a couple points. So that logic doesn't really hold up much, especially since South Carolina and OU haven't played in months. And a lot has changed to some degree since then. Oklahoma got off to a really ugly start in conference play, 1-9 through their first 10 games. They played a lot better down the stretch. They've won 6 of their last 8 games and are now kind of in a position to where they're not in the NCAA tournament field, but they have an outside chance, I would say. Joe Lenardi, ESPN bracketologist, of course, has OU as the next 4 out, meaning they're not the initial first 4 out. They're the next 4, meaning like they could be one of those 5 through 8 teams that maybe just don't make the cut. So what does OU have to do? They probably need to win tonight, obviously, to keep that hope alive, and then probably go on a little bit of a run in Nashville and then get some help around maybe not just the SEC, but just college basketball in general, because there are going to be a lot of bids up for grabs that aren't automatically just conference bids, automatic bids, I should say. But yeah, I mean, the big thing tonight, I would say, that gives South Carolina a chance is the fact that, look, I see this going one of two ways, really. If you shoot well, you're probably not going to, if OU shoots the way they have been lately, it's probably going to be tough for South Carolina to win. In their last 6 wins during this little stretch they've been on, they've shot a combined 53% from the field and nearly 50% from three-point range. In their last 2 losses, which have come pretty recently, they shot 39.5% from the field and 37.5% from three-point range. So what does that tell you? If Oklahoma is shooting close to 50% in this game, South Carolina probably doesn't win unless they're somehow shooting better, which is possible, but you never know. You feel a lot better about your chances if you hold OU to under 40% shooting overall in the night. And that's exactly what you did last time. OU shot 43% from the field and 19% from deep against South Carolina back in that initial matchup. So you're going to have to go out there and do it tonight. And I think the other thing, Kendall, is that I don't think there's really any pressure on South Carolina, because we're going to talk about Lamont Paris and everything going on there for sure soon here. So, hold on, stand by on that. But I think making the announcement before the tournament that LP is going to be back next year, for better or for worse, regardless of how people feel about it, I think it takes some of the pressure off the guys of, okay, we don't have to necessarily, like, they're trying to win, but it's not like they have to, we're trying to win to keep our coach's, job safe for next year. They know he's going to be back next year. And so I think there's a little bit of, it's not house money necessarily, but the pressure's on Oklahoma in this game, because if Oklahoma loses, they're probably looking at an NIT bid. Honestly, they're not making the tournament if they lose tonight. So It's a big game for Oklahoma. South Carolina, if they lose, whatever, it's been that way kind of all year. but if they win, it's a nice little, not a feather in the cap, but it's a nice win for South Carolina, considering just, I mean, Oklahoma really needs this one, is what the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, that's interesting. Not the first four out, but the next four out right now. Oklahoma falls in that category, according to, as you mentioned, Joe Lenardi. So we'll see how this goes. There is more pressure on them. And South Carolina, it's obviously been a disappointing season. They've been a little bit better here at the end. We'll talk about the Lamont Paris news here in just a little bit. But I'm curious, Jack, I know you said there's a very, very outside chance South Carolina could potentially make the tournament. But what do you think success really looks like for South Carolina in the SEC tournament from a realistic standpoint? Because if it is such a far out chance, and that's obviously how it comes across that South Carolina would make the tournament, they need a lot of help. They need several more wins. What does success look like for them? Is there an NIT bid in their future?
We'll see about the NIT. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, they need to win the SEC tournament to even sniff the NCAA tournament. They got to make it as an automatic bid, essentially. So they got to win 5 games in 5 days. That's really tricky. I would say this, though. I think, what does a successful week here look like? I think getting to Friday would be nice for this team, meaning they would win tonight against Oklahoma. You would play Texas A&M tomorrow night, which would be another late tip. And A&M kind of stumbling a little bit to the finish line. They just won in triple OT against LSU to close out the regular season. That's an LSU team that finished worst in the conference. So, the last time these two teams played, South Carolina and A&M, not to look too far ahead, but A&M was just shooting the lights out and could not seem to miss from 3-point range. Is that the same thing this time around? We'll talk about that tomorrow if that's the case, But right now, I would say winning 1 game would be nice. Winning 2, that would be good. Getting to a quarterfinal on Friday, I think, would be very nice. But I don't know if they're getting there. I mean, it starts with winning this game tonight. As far as the NIT goes, you got to remember last year they were invited to the NIT. They declined that bid. So did LSU. Because I think the way it works, I'm trying to remember this correctly, I believe the SEC automatically gets 2 NIT bids. So hypothetically, that could go to South Carolina again. There's going to be more teams in the mix for that this year because you won't get 14 teams into the NCAA tournament this year like you did last season. It'll probably be it could be barely double digits. It could be 10, depending on what happens with Oklahoma and Auburn. I mean, you could have like 6 teams out by the end of this thing and looking, into what's going to happen. And I doubt Auburn, Oklahoma, many of those teams would be down to, use an NIT bid or accept it, I should say. And the other thing to think about here that's different than last year, the portal doesn't open until April. So if you wanted to play in the NIT, you could, because it's not like yes, you got to focus on the offseason at hand, but it's not like, oh yeah, the transfer portal opens right after the conference tournament ends. Like, you got a little bit of time before that gets going. So we'll see. I don't really know if there's a ton of value in accepting the NIT bid because, well, for one, half your roster won't be here next year at least, because you have 6 players that are going to be graduating as seniors. You'll have a few that could potentially come back. The only benefit I would see to it is that it's a chance for some guys to maybe play one more home game if CLA were to host. I would imagine it would be able to. And then the other thing is getting some experience for guys that – I don't know about the guys that redshirted. I don't know exactly how that works because I've never covered the NIT before. But, they had a few guys redshirt this year. Are they allowed to play? You're trying to probably see what some of those young guys can do. It'd be a good experience for those guys, especially knowing LP is going to be back. But at the same time, I mean, I don't think it really matters either way. So it's not a big deal, but we'll see what happens with all that.
Jack giving it to us just as he sees it. That's the best thing about Jack, is he will 100% straight up tell you his thoughts. And that's why he's the best. The big sigh. Okay, let's get into the big news.
Yes.
Lamont Paris. We've referred to it multiple times on the show already, but Lamont Paris is coming back next season. This was up in the air a little bit. We weren't 100% sure, but yesterday news dropped. Lamont Paris will be back for the 2026-2027 season, which is crazy to say. Like saying 2027 is just crazy to me. But Jack, initial thoughts on this. What did you think when you found out?
I don't think it's that big of a surprise. You got to look at, there's multiple different factors to look at here. Number one, let's start with the buyout. That is probably the biggest talking point about this whole thing and why they're not moving on from him, meaning South Carolina. It's a $12 million buyout. My understanding is that you don't have to pay it up all at once. It can be spread out a little bit, which helps for sure. It's like 65% of whatever's remaining on his contract. So he's got 4 years left on his deal. It would be about $12 million in total. So make that about $3 million per season. So that's a big thing, is that I don't think anyone's going to say it, but like from like an athletics department standpoint, but that buyout is definitely a little bit large. It's nothing that South Carolina I don't think can pay, but you also have to consider, and Adam brings up the point I was exactly about to make. He says, you got to remember, we need money to save up in case we let go of Paul, which is true. It's a lot more conceivable and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's stack up Paul Maneri's buyout, which is $4 million compared to Lamont's, which is 12. It's a lot easier to move on from a contract like Paul's, considering he's a lot older. This is his last stop. He said that publicly before. This is it for him. And South Carolina baseball is not really having a great season so far. Just lost to the Citadel last night. So it's a lot more conceivable to move on from him if things continue to go downhill on the diamond. With basketball, Lamont has proven he can win. He won 26 games 2 seasons ago. I know everyone does not like to hear that. Look at the last 2 years, though. They've only won 6 conference games. The results have not been good, but he has shown he can bring in some good players. Like he brought in Gigi Jackson. He was able to land Gigi Jackson after he originally committed to UNC, and through the whole Frank Martin transition and whatnot, he brought in Colin Murray Boyles, who was a top 10 NBA draft pick. He's had some good players come in through the portal, like Michi, Talon Cooper, BJ Mack, Miles Studi. Some good players he's brought in. But the last 2 years, the results haven't been great. So there's a lot to really break down here. Again, the buyout is a lot. But I think, especially with what Jeremiah Donati put in his statement, that Lamont has proven to have success before. I mean, look, it's tough to pull the plug on a guy that you have this buyout for. It's not impossible, but when you look at the state of the rest of your men's programs, baseball might have a coaching search here soon. Football, I mean, that's one that who knows, honestly, and that would have the biggest buyout, of course, with Shane Beamer if things really go haywire this season. I would not rule that out if South Carolina just was worse in football than they were last year. So we'll see. There's a lot.
It's just a lot. Like when you think about it, the 3 big men's sports, the 3 coaches for those sports, there have been conversations and calls from fans and people very not happy with what's going on. And obviously there's other colleges and universities that are probably dealing with similar, but like how often really is it that for all 3 of those main men's sports, football, men's basketball, and baseball, there are people that are not happy about the coaching. And that to me has just been the craziest part of this year for South Carolina. Losing a midweek game, I'm just moving to baseball right now because, and listen, Paul's a great quote. He's awesome. He's great. I'm not like sitting here saying one way or another. I'm just saying losing to the Citadel midweek. And this is already, South Carolina's, they've lost several games that they shouldn't have lost already this year. And we're only sitting at March, 11th? Yeah, March 11th. Losing to the Citadel 8-3 is not good. So you have that. And that, to me, that probably seems like the biggest issue of all, especially when you think about the high level that this program once was at and what you expected, from this program and kind of what's happening. That seems like the biggest problem. Men's basketball, I saw, there might be some more NIL and resources allotted to the program to see what they might be able to do with that in the transfer portal, see if that can help. I do feel like and again, I don't have the numbers in front of me to 100% back it up, but I feel like South Carolina, maybe across the SEC for men's basketball, has not had as big of a spend as other teams have. And so that could be a help. Again, I don't have the numbers of how much every team has spent. Jack, you can speak on that in just a second. And then football is a whole other thing, but like you've got your work cut out for you looking at those three sports and seeing, okay, like if Paul Maneri is still here at the end of this year and coaches next year, to say he's on the hot seat is an absolute understatement. That would be the understatement of the century. He's on the hot seat right now. So if he makes it to next year, Lamont Paris is going to be coaching next year, but he's got to have a successful season. And then Shane Beamer, same thing, has to have a successful season. He's going to be one of the coaches people are talking about being on the hot seat heading into this 2026 football season. It's just crazy to me that is the case. And I would love to know other schools where it's the same way, because it just feels like everything has been a mess with South Carolina in men's sports.
I can't really think of a time where it's been like this in all three sports. The only similar example I would say is maybe Vanderbilt, when they were, because Vanderbilt's turned it around in every sport. Well, baseball is the one this year that's not very good so far, but baseball has historically always been very good at Vanderbilt. It's football and basketball that are just now starting to come along. So that's like the only similar situation I can think of off the top of my head. But kind of going back to everything we just talked about right there, I think the other part of keeping Lamont along is, all right, let's go back to the money for a second. It's $12 million for a buyout. It is, I don't know exactly how much it is for the assistant coaches, but if you have to move on from them as well, then so be it. But I think also there's the underlying factor of hiring a new coach, hiring a quality assistant coaching staff. You have to give that coach a pool of money to work with to bring in the assistants. And it's probably going to cost a couple million. And then you're looking at, okay, you're going to increase I'll get to that in a second. The NIL budget is the other thing here. And you have to give more money than what you would have for this past year to make it work. So if you hire a new coach, bring in assistants, increase the budget, fire Lamont, all that, you're probably looking at something that I would guess is probably going to be about a $20 million project. And we also have to consider it's not just the coaches that you're talking about here that you're paying. It's the renovations at Williams-Brice Stadium that are going on. It's literally everything costs money in this day and age. Nothing comes free anymore. So everything has a price on it. And the last time I checked, Kendall, there are not money trees growing outside of Williams-Brice Stadium or CLA or Founders Park. There's money there, but it's not like it's an unlimited cash cow. So that's the other thing. But I will say the alternative to firing him and doing all X, Y, and Z of what I just said is just giving him more NIL resources, more money to work with. And that's exactly what seems like it's going to happen. Jeremiah Denai, in that statement he released yesterday, did say there's going to be a bigger investment in the program. So how much money are we talking here? Not sure exactly. Let's talk about the potential of okay, what did other teams spend? So Kentucky reportedly spent about $20 million on their roster, right? It's well known at this point that's the case, and the results haven't been great. I mean, they're playing on day one of the SEC tournament as a 9 seed. So there you go with that. The rest of the SEC kind of seems like you need somewhere in the ballpark of $8 to $10 million, it seems like, to be competitive. And South Carolina, there's a lot of info floating around out there, but it seems like they're a little bit below that. So improving that number to get it, it does not need to be $20 million. Heck, it doesn't even need to be 15. It just needs to be along the same lines as why put yourself at a disadvantage when you can even the playing field by putting more money in, like a couple more $1 million into the program. And a lot of people are going to say, okay, where are you getting that money from? I mean, honestly, I don't even know. That is, I mean, it's funding, it's revenue sharing. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that go into all this. But look, the point is, if you want to field a competitive roster, a good team, you got to go out here and spend more money. Mm-hmm. Now, Spending money is one part of it. You got to have the money, of course. You got to have the funds. You got to also know how to spend that money. And I brought up all those examples of guys that LP brought in over his first 2 years that ended up being pretty good players. Again, from a high school ranks, Gigi Jackson, CMB, good players brought in. The last 2 years, mainly from the transfer portal guys, and the first 2 years, I'll go back to that for a second. Michi, Talon, BJ Mack, Stephen Clark, Miles Studi. Am I forgetting one? I think that's pretty much most of the guys that ended up being good players for South Carolina those first 2 years. The last 2 years, they've brought in some decent players, sure, but like this year, for instance, they brought in much more shooting talent from the high school and transfer portal ranks. Problem is they don't have a good front court presence. They didn't really do a good job of replacing Colin Murray-Boyles and Nick Pringle from last year in your starting front court. And every game it feels like South Carolina is getting significantly out-rebounded and outmatched in the paint. So all this to be said, you're going to have more money to work with. You got to know how to spend the money. I think I even asked LP about this yesterday when he met with us in Nashville before practice. Would he consider getting a GM? I've been a proponent of this for a while. I think you see most teams. I even asked some people that know better than I do, like, hey, I know college football teams tend to have general managers. Now, what about college basketball? And I got a text from somebody earlier today who knows very well what's going on in the industry, saying that there are a lot of teams who do have general managers or someone. It may not be officially general managers. The title might be director of NIL, director of recruiting and transfer portal activity, things like that. But they have a general manager, essentially, someone to manage everything. I'm not saying Lamont is not a good recruiter because he can bring in some players for sure. And I think that staff has done a decent job with some players, especially some of the in-state guys here. But the fact of the matter is the results on the court have not been what they were 2 years ago. And we can look at 2 years ago and say that almost most of those guys, if not all of them, ended up being impactful players during that tournament season. The last 2 years, there have been some good moments, sure, but you were missing a true point guard in the year after the tournament. And then this year, you brought in shooters, but they really can't shoot consistently at all, aside from Michi. And then you don't have a front court presence. So all that to be said, I know it's a long, long-winded answer, but the result is you're going to have to spend more money. You're going to have to know how to use the money. And I think you're going to have to hire a GM, honestly.
I asked a question. I think we were just
somebody else that can just my closing thought on this. Just somebody from a GM. It doesn't even have to be a GM. Somebody else, maybe it's staff changes. I don't know. Somebody else that has some sort of track record with evaluating talent, because the last 2 years, Kendall, just have not led to the results you need to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think your point of a general manager is spot on. I do a lot of college basketball coverage across North Carolina, and one of the teams that I work with a lot and did a bunch of their games for ESPN Plus and FanDuel Sports Network this year is Davidson. Davidson has a general manager of their basketball team. They have an assistant GM, that is Steph Curry, but they have a general manager that kind of helps to oversee things. I think that's important, especially in today's day and age. I will say, to defend Lamont Paris and kind of just going off what you were saying, Jack, I really like Lamont. He's super nice. I always remember the first time I met him was at Birdie's with Beamer when we were still in college. And he's really cool. I ended up seeing him the next day at a sushi restaurant in the Vista. And he came up and was talking to me. He's just a really nice guy. But something I will say with this scenario is when you look at baseball, when you look at football, you feel like they have the resources or at least the background to be able to find more success. When I'm talking background, I'm talking more baseball. So you have that history. You have the ability to say, yes, we are, College World Series champions, not once, but twice. We've done this. We've had historic success. You can come here, you can play. I mean, when people are thinking about top baseball programs in the country, a lot of people think about South Carolina. When you think about football, they have so many resources. They have a lot of money going over there. It seems like they did a good job in the transfer portal. So to this point, football definitely has a chance to be better this year. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. Hopefully they're able to gel. But you have all the resources you need in football. You have the background in baseball. Basketball, for the men's side, has just always they've had success. They've had flashes. They've had moments. They had their Final Four appearance. But it's just been a little bit harder, I think, across the landscape of college basketball across the SEC to really stand out. Whereas I feel like South Carolina has the opportunity to stand out more in football and in baseball. So I think allotting more NIL resources, giving them more money, more opportunity for maybe people to come in and help out like a general manager would be really good. So that's where I will defend Lamont and say I think that if he's given more resources, maybe he'll be able to do something more with them. Now, as you said, it is a result of finding the right kind of guys for your program, being able to go out there and scout talent, maybe find some of those hidden gems. So for next season, we'll see what South Carolina's roster looks like. Will it be majority transfer guys? How's South Carolina going to do recruiting wise in the high school basketball scene? So I'm just curious to see how it all pans out. But all we do know is that Lamont Paris will be back next season. Let's talk about this quick before we continue, Jack. What do you think, though, about pulmonary? Because this is, I had to ask. I mean, I'm sorry, we're coming.
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is
what do you think about that whole scenario? Like, how long is the leash? Where does it end? Do you just keep it going through the season? It's very interesting to watch this kind of all play out.
I will say the whole Lamont situation playing out the way it has with him being here for next year, I think the focus now turns to Maneri. I think at this point, if South Carolina doesn't make the tournament, I have a very hard time believing he's going to be back here next year because, as I said before, let's compare the buyouts. It's $12 million for Lamont. It's a little under it's 3.9, so basically $4 million for Maneri. It's a lot more conceivable to let go of him because he's older. He's 68, I believe, right now. He'll turn 69, I think, in August. So it's the buyout's a lot cheaper for him. You got to let go of coaches too on staff, I'm sure. So you're talking probably about $5.5 million in total, maybe. That's a lot less expensive than it is compared to $12 million. South Carolina's got the money for both, I think, but if you're picking one, I think it's a lot easier. And I think baseball's in worse shape right now. Basketball's in very bad shape. But, and maybe it's, honestly, I'm probably speaking too soon on that. Baseball, let me put it this way. Baseball has the potential to be in worse shape. Because, at least in basketball this year, I know they lost some bad games last year. They've gotten blown out by some good SEC teams. But basketball, to my memory here, has not really lost to the teams that they're supposed to beat. Like they lost to North Florida to open the season last year, but they had a pretty good run in non-conference play against mid-major teams and whatnot. For baseball, though, this year, that was the strength of the baseball team last year. For all their problems, they beat every mid-major opponent. This year, they've lost to Northern Kentucky, Army, Queens, and now the Citadel. So you got 4 really ugly losses on your schedule before conference play begins. And conference play last year was rough, to put it lightly. So we'll see. I don't know. See, that's the thing. Part of me believes and feels, just my opinion on this, just my thoughts. Part of me believes it would not be the craziest thing to just move on from him mid-season if, let's say, they start off 0-6 in conference play. They got Florida this weekend, then they get Arkansas next weekend. 2 teams that, mind you, Florida just lost a series to High Point, and then Arkansas split a 4-game series with Stetson. So if South Carolina, and those are 2 good SEC teams, both ranked, but if South Carolina got swept by both of them, I don't think it'd be the craziest thing to just cut them loose, just move on, and that be that. That way you're giving somebody on this staff, maybe it's Monty, maybe it's Terry Rooney, somebody on this staff a chance to be the interim, right the ship, and see what happens. And look, worst case, it doesn't work out. I don't see the issue with trying something there because whatever is going on right now is just not working. I thought they were getting out of this little rut they started out the season because you're going to lose a midweek game every now and then. It was going to be hard to believe South Carolina going back-to-back years without a midweek loss to a non-Power 4 opponent. But the reality is you've lost 4 games to mid-majors so far this year. And SEC play is going to be tough for sure. And I don't know. So all this to be said, I think if it gets off to a really rough start, it wouldn't surprise me maybe if something happened. But I think right now he'll probably be able to go to the end of the season. He always talks about how he's never been asked to leave. He always, boasts about that. But I mean, if things really go bad this year, I have a hard time believing South Carolina is going to keep him around, considering baseball's supposed to be good here.
There's an expectation. Yeah.
Baseball has a tradition.
Of any sport besides obviously women's basketball now in South Carolina. That expectation is super high. But the expectation in terms of men's sports to be good, the number one team, in my opinion, that's expected to be good is baseball.
100%. You can always typically, even during some of the rough years under Kingston, you could always expect baseball to be competitive and making the tournament. Making the tournament always was the minimum. Now it's the expectation for South Carolina this year. And honestly, I don't even know if they're going to make the tournament this year. Because, you got 30 games in conference play. And that's the thing. If you do well in conference play, it kind of overrules everything going on right now with these early season losses. Like you can make up for it with a good record in conference play. But is this team going to do well in conference play? I think they're a better team. I don't think this is a bad team necessarily. I just think they're a team with flaws, meaning like they're not great defensively. They have good hitters, but they just haven't really shown it yet. I think the pitching is overall pretty good, but they just walked 10 guys yesterday against the Citadel. So there are problems, but I don't think it's anything that can't be fixed. I think go ahead.
It wasn't the worst thing to happen in the baseball world yesterday. The worst thing to happen in the baseball world yesterday was Team USA not knowing the rules of the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, my God. I about lost my mind hearing Mark DeRosa, the manager for Team USA, talking about – he was on like some show yesterday on MLB Network talking about, we've already punched our ticket to the quarterfinals of the World Baseball Classic. And then I don't know, for some reason he didn't realize that, you're not automatically in the quarterfinals if you go 3-0. You need to go 4-0 to automatically make it to the quarterfinals. And so they lost yesterday to Italy, and I was watching on my bed back here on the hotel, and I'm just stunned sitting there. And then he tries to backtrack after talking about, I misspoke. I misread the calculations. How did nobody realize, and not even just DeRosa, but how come nobody even mentioned? It looked like until the eighth inning, nobody realized, oh, crap, like we need to win this game to make it to the next round of the WBC. He had Clayton Kershaw warming up in the eighth inning yesterday, a guy that he said himself, he's an emergency option. You had Mason Miller available, and you eventually used him, and you didn't pitch Kershaw, but it just screamed to me. Some of the lineup changes he made, apparently the guys were out celebrating the night before and getting, a little hammered or whatever. It's a mess. And now the USA is in a position where they may not even make the next round of the WBC.
Yeah, so okay, we need to go through what is happening. Like, what has to happen for the USA to make the quarterfinal? I was reading about this, and it was too early in the morning. I got back from spring training yesterday, so I wasn't registering what I was reading. So do you have it up, Jack? I'm trying to find it.
I think I can remember it off the top of my head. So it's the simple solution is Italy beats Mexico tonight, because Italy and Mexico.
I saw someone say I would not send my players to the plate if I were Italy. With the bat.
So Italy and Mexico play tonight. Italy needs to win for USA to get in, because Mexico right now is 2-1. Italy's 3-0, and then USA's 3-1. So we're talking basically at this point, it's down to tiebreakers. So Italy wins, Mexico loses, USA, Italy going on to the next round. If Mexico wins and they score more than 5 runs, then the US and Mexico are in. If Mexico I believe if Mexico wins and they score less, if they score 4 runs or less, then I'm pretty sure it's Italy and U.S. getting in. There's some run differential thing going on. I don't know exactly. I think those are the 3 scenarios off the top of my head. So the simple solution, though, is Italy wins or Mexico scores a certain amount of runs, and whether they win or lose doesn't matter. But so the U.S. is kind of in trouble here, and they are their fate is basically in the hands of 2 other countries. And I know Mexico's manager talked about after the U.S. beat Mexico the other night that he wants to play the U.S. again at some point in the WBC. So I don't think – I know there's people out there that are like, oh, the Mexico and Italy are just going to throw this game and make sure the U.S. doesn't advance. I don't think that's the case. I think Mexico is going to try to win this game and make sure that the U.S. is going to be right alongside them in that next round.
So, yeah, if Italy beats Mexico, if Mexico scores 5 or more runs, like you said, or if Italy scores 6 or more runs against Mexico. So the only way USA is out is if Mexico wins in a very low-scoring game where they score 4 or fewer, and Italy scores 5 or fewer. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm really concerned that the U.S. is not going to advance. I'm very.
If they don't advance,
But here's the thing: it's not even. Look, they have a good team assembled, but let's be honest. It just makes me so angry that a guy like Tarek Skubal, who I get it, he's going to get paid so much money this offseason. He'll be the highest paid pitcher in probably MLB history after this season ends, assuming he stays healthy. I just don't like the idea that you pitch against freaking Great Britain and then you're going back to pitch with the Tigers and that be that. And you're done. And then you're going to come back for the semis in the championship to watch the team. No. You're either all the way in or you're out. And then also you just got a lot of other guys on this team. It just feels like the U.S. doesn't really care about this as much as look at the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, any other country.
Even Italy last night.
Yeah, Italy. Israel.
Espresso shots. Yeah, like
all these countries care. And I know it's not the Olympics, but it's still a big deal. And the U.S. to me just kind of treats it a little bit like an afterthought. And it's not all the top end talent in the sport. Not everyone's playing in this tournament. And it goes for some other countries too. But that's because of insurance policies and whatnot. And some guys just don't want to play. I get it. But it's frustrating because it's like this is like you would never see show them your shirt. Like you would never see the U.S. men's hockey team. Like you wouldn't see Jack Hughes be like, yeah, I'm going to play in the first 2 games and then I'm done. Like, no, you would never see that. And it's laughable, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a disappointment to say the least, but I am happy for Kyle well, I'm not happy for him because he has a grade 2 hamstring injury and he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. But he did hit a home run last night. Kyle's one of my favorite people. He plays for Team Italy, one of my favorite athletes I've ever covered. He plays for the White Sox. He was at Charlotte Knight last year, got to cover his call-up. He's awesome. I was just at White Sox spring training, so he obviously was not there. But really cool to be able to see him kind of show up and show out and do really well. So, yeah, it was fun at spring training. I'm excited about baseball. I think a lot of people are pumped up about, what's been going on in the World Baseball Classic, but what a bummer. And, I saw a bunch of people, let me just say this as a baseball fan, a bunch of people were saying, oh, PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, why are you playing PCA? Who's the only person that showed up in last night's game?
Hit two homers. Some of the pitching decisions were the problem, though. I mean, no offense to Nolan McLean, but you're pitching a guy that he's a young guy. I mean, why? These are the games to start. I agree with
starting. Like 8 MLB starts or something?
Yeah. I agree with starting Skeens against Mexico, but this was the game to start Tarek Skubal. Even if it's for 50-something pitches, this was the game to start him. And then you throw Ryan Yarbrough in there, and I'm a Yankee fan, and I think he was okay last year. But the guy he's a soft-throwing left-hander, and you have better arms in this team that you could be pitching, but for some reason did not. It is interesting, though. I just saw a tweet from Bob Nightingale, who covers the MLB pretty well, about Kyle Teal, who's, like you said, out 4 to 6 weeks. So apparently Italy's working the phones today to call up another catcher to replace him. Apparently, as the tweet goes, Italy must get paperwork to assure player's heritage qualifies to play for Italy. Their call-up player today is Andres Annunziata, who is their bullpen catcher. That's crazy. So yeah, the WBC it's so fun, but man, I'm just bummed that the U.S. should not. They should. Italy's a good team, but I think the U.S. should. I'm not saying they should have won that game last night, but maybe if they took it serious like they were supposed to, and
not knowing the rules is just not acceptable.
Not knowing the rules is, and there's a reason why Mark DeRosa is not an MLB manager, and probably never will be because of stuff like this. He's a network analyst for a reason, and it's it's hard to believe there's not an actual manager out there that did not want to coach this team. It's crazy to me.
Well, I guess we'll see. The USA's fate hangs in the balance of this Mexico-Italy game, so whatever. There's nothing we can do at this point.
Yeah, we'll see.
Disappointing. But Jack, you've had a lot of questions. Are you going to have your show tomorrow?
Have not decided yet. The only reason, so typically I go Thursdays with Ethan Carter, former South Carolina pitcher, on Thursdays. However, it is in flux right now, mainly because I don't know what my plan is tomorrow. I'm either, if South Carolina loses tonight, I'm booking it back. I have to go to Fort Mill tomorrow if South Carolina loses tonight, and then I'm going to Gainesville Friday.
Oh my goodness.
So my sister has a theater performance.
No, what a nice brother.
Oh, I know. My mom won't let me hear the end of it if I'm not there. But if South Carolina does win, so I don't anticipate having a live show as of right now tomorrow, unless I haven't really decided that yet. But if I am in Nashville tomorrow and South Carolina wins today, there will be a live show tomorrow. But we'll know. You will know when I do. Essentially, it is TBA right now. Worst case, maybe Friday. But my travel schedule this week it's whack. So I'm
Are you driving to Florida?
Yes, I've talked about this on radio. So I started out in Clemson on Monday, stayed with my brother. Tuesday, yesterday, drove to Nashville. I'm here at least until tomorrow. And then if South Carolina loses, I'm going to Fort Mill. And then on Friday, I'm going to Gainesville. And obviously, if South Carolina is here in Nashville the rest of the week, I'm here as long as they are. And then I'm going to Gainesville. And then I'm coming back from Florida. I'm staying an extra day or two to maybe go to spring training on Monday. And then
for the Yankees?
No, unfortunately, they're not playing. But I like watching baseball, obviously. So I'll be there till Tuesday. And so it's going to probably be about 1,500, 2,000-mile trip. So it'll be fun. So we'll see about a live show, but not sure yet.
All right. Well, stay tuned, everybody. Follow Jack on social media. You're not going to Disney?
No,
Jack's
Disney World.
Out on Disney for a little bit.
I did do that 2 years ago, though, actually.
You did it like 2 months ago. There was a period of time where you were going to Disney like every other month.
Oh, I know. But in this situation, because last time I had to go to Gainesville for baseball, I took a day on that Monday after the series to do a trip to Disney for the day and then driving back on Tuesday because South Carolina was playing at Citadel on that Tuesday. So, but no Disney World this time around. I got other things going on, but yeah. So,
well, everybody, before we get out of here, our sponsor, Ferry Chevrolet, they're awesome. They make things happen for us. If you're in the market for a car, houses, cars, like these big life purchases, we got you, everybody.
Yeah. We did not forget about Ferry Chevrolet. So we got them in mind. If you're a Gamecock fan who, like Kendall said, interested in a new or even a used vehicle, make sure you check out our friends over at Ferry Chevrolet in Orangeburg, South Carolina. They are led by a fourth-generation dealer in Joseph Ferry. The family-owned business over at Ferry Chevrolet has been serving the community since 1926. It is conveniently located just off of I-26 between Columbia and Charleston. The folks over at Ferry Chevrolet are local, trustworthy, and always transparent. The business began in St. Matthews and was built on honesty, integrity, and a handshake, and they still operate with those same principles to this day. Head on over to ferrychevrolet.com today, check out their inventory, and get in touch.
All right, everybody. Any final thoughts, comments?
No. Basketball tonight.
9:30 Eastern.
All I'm going to say is it probably won't even start on time. It'll probably be, you got another game going on right now. You got a game going on at 7 o'clock, and then it's a 25-minute break in between games. We're talking maybe 10 o'clock, and then let's just say I'm going to be up late tonight, especially if they lose. So we'll see. I might need to take a nap after this, but yeah. So 9:30 p.m. approximately, SEC Network. I'll be there. I have all live coverage for you guys on Gamecock Central. I'm here until South Carolina loses. We'll see if that's tonight. We'll see if that's tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. But appreciate you guys tuning in.
Not tonight. Yeah, I feel that. I'm really tired. I keep yawning.
You've had a busy week.
Spring training takes it out of you. You got to get up early. You got to be there all day. That Arizona heat's like 90 degrees already in Arizona.
It's brutal. It is brutal out there.
But yeah, Jack, thank you for all the coverage you're doing. Great as always. Follow him on social. Follow us at Gamecock Central on social media. Stay tuned, everybody, with what we've got going on. Of course, we want you to visit our website as well, GamecockCentral.com. But for Jack Veltri, I'm Kendall Smith. This has been GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody, and we'll see you soon.